The economic freedom fighters in Gauteng are lobbying for Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi to become their candidate for premier of the province. According to the Mail and Guardian, EFF leaders want to get Ndlozi to contest Gauteng's top job. If given the green light, Ndlozi is expected to go ahead, or head-to-head rather, with the incumbent Panyaza Lesufi, while the Democratic Alliance has fielded Ndlozi Msimanga. Political analyst Yolokazi Mfuto joins us now to take a look at the near future, I guess. Yolokazi, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. This particular candidate to be, in the absence of an official announcement from the economic freedom fighters, what is the appeal with Dr. Ndlozi?
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to all the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. Well, the announcement made by the CIC of the EFF that Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi is going to go head-to-head with the current premier, Panyaza Lesufi, for the Gauteng's top seat. It is a well-expected. Ndlozi is led in the EFF, and you've seen him now taking a bit of a back seat. I think it was expected that there is a position that they were preparing him for, particularly now to contest Gauteng against Panyaza Lesufi. But we've seen Dr. Ndlozi that he appeals to young people. We've seen him that even institutions of higher learning, when the EFF, the student command, is actually campaigning on campuses, they'll always be led by him because he appeals to the younger people. But then it's going to be a very tough race for Gauteng because also Ndlozi Msimanga is not actually taking it down because he has been in the trenches of the DA and he's been in governance for quite some time. So this is going to be a very tough competition for the next year's election.
You speak of a tough race and a tough competition. Does Dr. Ndlozi have competition in Ndlozi Msimanga and Panyaza Lesufi? Msimanga, perhaps because of him having been in the positions that he has been before, but really premiership, even Panyaza Lesufi wasn't a premier before. But what makes competition? What constitutes competition, I guess?
Yes, so Dr. Ndlozi, we've seen that he has led in the EFF when he led as a spokesperson, and he led the party's political education and policy work as well. So within the party itself, he has done a majority of the work. But unfortunately, the EFF, one thing that would maybe serve as a weakness of sort is the fact that they don't have experience in governance. And position like a premiership, they want a bit of experience so that people can be able to trust you with delivering services and also delegating and actually targeting the work that needs to be done urgently. Meanwhile, Panyaza Lesufi, we've seen him leading the province initially as the MEC for education, and now since he took the reins as the Gauteng Premier since last year, he has always been people see him on the ground. There's numerous initiatives and programs that he's putting into place because this picks up on the experience that he has in governance. So he's able to execute work that is actually answering to people's needs and delivering services as needed. But with Dr. Ndlozi, with his experience, it's a matter of people who have trust in the new parties now. The EFF, people have kind of indicated that they want new change, and he appeals to the people as a person who can bring that particular change. Otherwise, in terms of the fundamental stuff, in terms of governance, for now, there's nothing that is tangible that we can point into, except for the great work that is done for the party and in parliament as well.
Okay, because you say the stakes are so high, I mean, everyone right now are touting themselves as a government in waiting. At one particular point, Julius Malema was speaking about how you need to be prepared for the day after victory, the day you actually take over in government and set yourselves up. But when you take a look at the composition of the top six of that party, outside of the central figure that is Julius Malema, what has been your observation in terms of the appeal of that top six when we speak of presence, when we speak of tangible results?
Well, the top six of the EFF, I have been critical in terms of looking at how they work with the other people in the other structures, in the lower structures. And secondly, Julius Malema has also been, he's been like the center of the party. And as a commander-in-chief, it did at some point seem as if he's a dictator within the party. But we've seen that the changing in terms of spokespersons, we've seen Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, and then we've seen Vuyani Mpambo, now Sinawo, and then there's another spokesperson. There is a bit of, they prioritize what we call sustainability of the organization by having different people in succession plans or different positions within the party. So we've seen that within the top 6. We have seen them delegating work. The Deputy Commander-in-Chief, Floyd Shivambu, we've seen him doing work, policy work, the review, visiting communities and stuff. We've seen the Deputy as well, the Deputy SG. We've seen the Secretary General. So we've seen them doing work, but there is a bit of aloofness from the top 6 when you look at them doing work with the other people on the ground. We saw when they had the 10th anniversary at the FNB Stadium, we saw that, yes, everyone is excited that the EFF is done. They have survived the 10 years and they've done incredible work. But the people who are seemingly taking more credit is people in the top 6. Meanwhile, there's also ground forces. We've done amazing work for the organization. So I do think that for EFF to actually go and do well in the next year's elections, it is important that everyone in the organization, they take ownership of the organization and feel as important, even though they are not the CIC.
Yeah, because if you go online, there are, especially when you speak of political education, there's usually sessions that are held throughout the country, and you are spoiled for choice. You can pick one and take a look, where you've got members of the party who are also contributing, or who would sit and listen, and then they engage and exchange ideas. There was one in particular where somebody stood up and said to the leadership, well, you know, we cannot have an environment of fear. We cannot have an environment where if you want to say what it is that you want to say, then you fear what will come after. Do you get a sense that there is a sense of fear in the party?
Yes, there has been accusations and rumors that in the EFF there's a bit of animosity when you are going to speak against the values or standing of what the CIC believes in, or if you are going to counter what they've asserted, that people are now you are going to be targeted or you are going to be dealt with. So that has been something that even when the people like Andile Mngxitama, when they left the organization, they actually alluded to those things, that there is also zero tolerance for people who are actually diverging from the views of the CIC or the deputy CIC. So it's very important for organizations, for them to survive for longer and for them to actually grow, to listen to their membership, and actually to be able for the membership to be critical of the organization. So for instance, what I've read with the top 6 being a bit of an aloof from the general population of the party is the fact that when the people from the ground are sent to position of power, now it's not a matter of succeeding the particular person. It's a matter of redressing of what they've done. And in many cases, when people get into position with the intent of actually changing everything at an instance, things don't go out well, and then the organization, they tend to die because people, they focus on their personal vendettas and the personal battles with their predecessors. So it's very important for the party to root out the fear and the idea that people cannot speak in the organization if their views diverge from the views of the large population. Because any other party, and particularly EFF, they pride themselves in the contestation of ideas and battle of thinking. So it's important that they allow everyone to actually have a view.
Yolokazi, thank you very much for your contribution this afternoon. Yolokazi Mfuto is a political analyst.